Yo, it's that time again. All right. I think I left this thing in a bad state yesterday. Yeah, we don't want this raw window handle 0.4.2. Gonna leave SDL2 in there because maybe one day it will work. Should have a to-do or note. Here it is. I'll support it next, but who knows when that'll be because it's been a year and a half since they last released it. Revisit it if they ever make another release. Okay, let me look at my to-dos. Probably move this up to full tick new. Why did I say that? Also need to translate non-egui mouse gestures and send those to the app. I already did that. That's done. That's exactly what we're doing here. Oh, I remember why. Because window handle can be done in the new. Right here. I don't think we can though, because we don't get the redraw or handle app event in new, which we need. Handle app. We need handle app event right in the new. So where does that happen? We don't even have an app until this line. And app new requires the window. Yeah, so I can't do that. Anything that needs the handle app event has to be done in event loop. But you know, it is sort of big and maybe we should move it out. Yeah, let's move this out. So this is what handle window event. Yeah, handle window event. Refactor. Extract into function. Handle window event. Okay, we get a couple things. And I have an error. Let copy. Wait, what? Why can I not? Why can I not move it out? Cannot move. Move because it has a type which does not implement copy. I don't want to copy, I want to move. That's why I have move here. Huh. That's really weird. The captured variable. Oh, right. We can't move into the function, but we can let the function borrow it. So that would be like, yeah, we just basically get rid of these RCs and they've just become borrows. And then we don't need that extra borrow. There we go. I fixed it. Event is the primary thing, so that should be first, right? Goodbye. Goodbye. Say goodbye to someone. Goodbye. That's what his job is. Yes, the sprinkler is spitting water everywhere. Interesting that this became a free function. I guess that's because we don't actually need the window here at all. Right, we didn't need the window. We just need the event and tell it to handle it. Okay. I mean, I guess that makes sense. Cool, I like that. So this to-do is not true. Okay, how are we down to the to-dos? We have one here. It says, move the handling of these to the app. The app. They already do that? Oh. Yeah, I did. I did do that. Yeah, so that was done. Just forgot to mark it off. This entire thing is inside of that. So what if we reverse that logic if return? Then get rid of the brace way down here. And that gets outdented once. This function is longish, but the individual match arms are kind of small, so I could make these individual functions and it would make these the match smaller, but I don't know if it's worth it. I think we'll just pass for now. Okay, so I'm out of to-dos. Notes, what do I have? Okay, this is telling me that this might be better encapsulated in the model instance type, because we're in the renderer right now. I should have been more explicit about what this means. Oh, it might be this rigid body thing. The fact that the model instance has a rigid body at all. That we have to get the handle, and then we have to do this junk. Yeah, I think that's what that meant. So, yeah, so let's make this a method of the model instance. Okay, models. Model instance implementation. Where are you? Here we go. All right, there we go. Pub function something self turns some stuff. I don't know yet. Paste. Goodbye. Self.rigidBody and wherever it says instance. I guess that's it. And we're just returning this. Bodies, bodies, bodies. Oh, that has to be passed in. Shoot. Ah, is that the problem? That's the problem I have here. Where do I get those bodies from? That's not where I was. Back here. Yeah, bodies comes from subject. The rigid body set. Oh, shoot. I mean, I guess we could pass that in. This feels bad though. It's like maybe not even a responsibility of the model instance to do this. But yeah, I would have to add it here. And I'd have to add imports and okay, but given that unit quaternion of what type? Ah, unknown. I think it's F64. And the translate is what, a matrix for F64? Import that. And then get rid of the let and the semicolon. Upcast needs the extensions I wrote. Cast needs something. Vector 3. This is more trouble than it's worth, isn't it? Oh, vector 3. Still doesn't like it. Oh, it's a vector, not a matrix. Okay. Rid of the imports I don't need up here. Didn't need the matrix at all. All right. So that's the ugly part of this, that you have to tell it that its rigid body is in this body set, and it has to look it up right there. This, we don't have to call the method, we can just look at it directly. Okay, yeah. Okay, so the idea would be that this gets simplified to instance dot something bodies. Rename the something in a second. Okay, and then get rid of these and these. Get back here. The extensions, where are they? That shouldn't be there. This should go there. Okay. Crate, yeah, that's the one we don't want the name pollution, right? There's another one we didn't want name pollution for. This one. Okay. Good morning, good damn. Just cleaning up some stuff I was working on yesterday. Note. Okay. What to call the thing? Get rotation translation? Or just rotation translation? Rotation translation. I mean, I guess that's okay. I'll get rid of this note. I still don't like that I have to let it borrow the rigid body set, because that sort of breaks the encapsulation that the body set needs to be known. Now that's because we're passing it, we're just kind of storing it along with the instance, right? Okay, so the real problem is that this is here at all. These have to do with drawing, and this has nothing to do with drawing, right? So maybe what makes more sense is to have another structure. So if there's a model instance, we can have another structure, which is the instance plus its rigid body handle, and have that somewhere else. Yeah, so, okay, what I'm thinking is that the method we just wrote down here could be a trait, could be specified by a trait, right? So that the renderer doesn't need to know that we're actually using a physics engine. It just uses a trait. So that instance, where does it get it from? That's in subject, right? Model inst. No, it gets them. Oh no. Okay, so this could be a trait object, right? That could be a trait object. Yeah, where to define it? I guess we would define it in renderer, right? Yep, we would define it here. So let's do that. So public trait. What to name it though? I guess it's the trait is an instance that can be a renderable instance. Renderable. Renderable model instance. Okay, and it has to have this trait rotation translation. I guess we also need it to say, no, we don't need to say what model it is. But what else do we use from the instance? It's scale. Okay, we need to be able to get its scale. And that's it. Okay, so another one would be scale. So the idea would be that we don't need that, right? Pub function scale. F64. All right, we don't need pub for trait functions. The whole thing is public. Import these guys. Okay, so yeah, that's the trait really that the render needs. It doesn't need to know that it has anything that has any kind of rigid body set. The idea is to get rid of this rigid body set, right? How am I going to do that though? Because we don't want to store the rigid body set in the renderable model instance. Oh, we can do it. We can store the we can store the immutable borrow to the rigid body set when we build one of these. We could basically build these up front in where we call rent draw. Right here. These batch instances. When we build these batch instances, we can build in the physics world bodies into them. Yeah, because we have to build this vector anyway, right? So when we push this instance, we can actually make the instance up here. Yeah, okay, I like this. So what order in which do I want to do this? The idea would be to get rid of bodies here. That this is Dyn renderable model instance, right? No bodies here. So this is scale. And this doesn't need an argument. Okay, and then we don't need instance or rigid body set. So I just severed the dependency on there being a physics engine from this thing. Okay, problem is it's gonna break the app, right? Okay, so we don't pass that, but this is the wrong type. We need to fix that. So we'll make this a vector of, we need to make a new type, right? Struct instance with body. Yeah, because we know, Well, actually, it doesn't even need to have the rigid body in there. We could just look up its position. So this would be like instance with physical properties. Instance with physical properties. Until I think of a better name. So there'll be the instance. Okay, here's where it gets tricky because we're going to have a couple of lifetimes. Let's see if we can get away with just one lifetime. Yeah, so hold on. That means if I'm going to store like rotation is a unit quaternion F64 and I have translation vector 3 F64 and I have scale F64, then if these are separate, then the trait that I made can have just separate methods, right? This could be like rotation and translation separate, so they don't have to be ganged together like that. So this just returns the quaternion. This just returns the vector. We're good. Change this so that it's just we're getting the rotation and the translation. And I probably don't even need these names at all, right? I can just put this in where it's actually used. There. And this can be used, put where that is used. There. And then scale. Okay, that we leave it where it is because it's been okay, yeah. Shoot. That goes there. And we use this here. Cool. All right. Whew. Back to the app. Okay, this instance with physical properties, right? That's what we want to put here. See if we can get away with one lifetime there. Master Agent Miyazaki, how are you today? All right, so this instance, right, we're going to actually make an instance that sort of combines all the things that we have, that we know about it, right? Let instance equal this type right here. Fill in the blanks. So it has the original instance we have, and then I guess we'll pre-compute these. So rotation translation equals instance dot rotation translation, right? And here we have to let it borrow the rigid body set. So that's self dot physics world dot bodies. All right, and then let scale equal instance dot scale. Is that not available? Ah, yeah, I need to like be able to get it back out. Pub function scale self returns an F64 of self dot scale. Back, make it a function. Okay, so these to-dos go away. Model type. Okay, we need to get that before we construct the wrapped instance. Do we need this instance anymore? I don't think I do, right? Hold on, let's look. Started on a new project at work past week, and I'm getting myself ready for it. Been reading the onboarding documents and finalizing work and documentation for another project. Was an age since you're on Twitch this early. Hope things are good. Yeah, doing good. This is my new schedule, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific. Actually, today it's got to end a little early because I have a work meeting at 9. So I need like, I don't know, 10 minutes to set work up and, yeah, working from home today anyway, so I don't have to drive in at least. Let's see. So you have onboarding documents? Consider yourself lucky. Sometimes when I get a new project, there is no onboarding documents. It's like, oh, yeah, talk to that guy if you have any questions about it. Otherwise, here's the code. Hello, thank you. Okay, yeah, I was going to look and see, do we actually need that instance in... No, see, we don't. We don't need the instance. We're going to implement this trait just by returning things we already have. So that means back in app, I don't actually need to put the instance in here at all. Therefore, I don't need a lifetime, which is perfect. So really, it's not an instance with physical properties. It's just like instance properties. Instance physical properties. There's no lifetime. Hey, is Matt? How are you doing? Let's rename this one. Instance physical properties. Don't need the instance here. This is instance draw order. I still need that. That means we can move this model type back to where I had it. Is there any reason... I was going to say, is there any reason to give this a name? And the answer is yes, because we use it twice. And we only need to look it up once. Okay, so... Consider borrowing here. Expect it. So it doesn't need to be a reference. It can own that. There. Okay, so then the batch has no lifetime, which is nice because that was sort of uncomfortable anyway. No more lifetime for batch. No lifetime there. I don't even think we need to be clear about the type, right? Should infer that. No? Okay, I don't think we'll be needing that once we get rid of the other errors. This is instance.draw. Oh, I did that. Let's pull this out. Let draw order equal that. Then I can just say draw order for this. If I do that first, then I can do that. Okay. So that's not instances anymore, is it? I'm bad with names. What to call this thing? I'm inclined to give it a really long name. Instances physical properties. Is that bad? This isn't really model instances anymore. It's not really a renderable model instance. Like instance physical properties, right? And then this is like instance physical properties. I tend to make names longer when I can't think of a shorter name. Okay, then this doesn't need to be Oh, we do need to have that, right? Either that or we need to box it because we don't know the size of this. So my intention was that the render thing would own it. So why don't we just say that these are boxed? Put them on the heap, right? Okay. So let's close some of these things that are getting in my way. Yeah. Okay, so then you change this type, right? So this is a boxed, the trait object. So yeah, it's box. Okay. Yeah, so we just need to have this implement the trait now, right? So implementation of, not there. Implementation of the renderer's instance physical properties. For instance physical properties. Oh, that's model renderer. Models. Oh, yeah, let's promote that. Render physical instance properties in models. So this is like a re-export from this crate, right? I know why this was used. This is a re-export. I like to have re-exports after modules. There we go. Okay. So then I kind of want to have that import that. Yep, exactly. Implement missing members. Okay, so rotation is just self.rotation. Translation, self.translation. Scale, self.scale. Actually, then why am I even using a trait? Because, yeah, the trait is overkill now. Let's see if I can get it to work, and then I know it's overkill. Anyway. Can I just do like as ref? The trait bound is not satisfied. Wait, so it's the inner, it can't map to trait objects. That's well, that's another reason not to use a trait. Let's get rid of the trait. So that means that like we would just move this directly into this. This no longer a trait, it's a struct. And we just plop them there. And there's no dyn anymore, and we might as well well yeah, it just owns them, right? And that's it. Well, no, it was back to the app. So we don't need to define this or do any of that stuff. Whoops, too much. Hold on. I need to catch up with chat because I see a lot of chat scrolling. Look at this awful name for a property created yesterday in a class you're working on. Players blocked from reset after interact teleport. It's verbose and clear, but eats a quarter of the line. So yeah, I like to think of long names as Almost like mini to-dos. Your to-do is if you don't like how long this name is, then think of a better one. Hey there, Ramy. Gonna have to ask you to stop. You're far exceeding the awesome limit. Aw. Master of Lightning, Ramy. That's right. Watch out. He'll strike, and then hopefully you better have battery backup because he's gonna short out your circuits. But 20 pages of product overview. Wow, that's nice. So yeah, your previous project had no onboarding process. So yeah, isn't it nice to have documentation? Just remember that if you make something, that the next person to look at it is probably going to really appreciate it if you were to document it. So this is now render physical instance properties, which is, yeah, this name is really long, right? Actually, I want to make it even longer because it's like what kind of renderer, right? It is as model renderer instance physical properties. Super long name. Okay. Yeah, horrendously long name. We'll have to try to think of a better name. So we don't need to make a box. We just make one of these that has the stuff in it. Okay? And I think I just need to do a borrow there. Perfect. Except the renderer has 3 errors. Right, because these are no longer functions. It's just a plain old structure. And I think the next problem is these all need to be public. Yep, now we have 0 errors. Perfect. It is done. So, Ramy, you better watch out because Thor might come after you. Yo, God of Thunder. You're the Master of Lightning. There's got to be an ultimate battle between the two of you. You beat his ass. I don't know. He's got that hammer. That was interesting. It took a while for the physics there to resolve. Okay, I'm happy because the renderer now doesn't have any imports that have to do with the physics engine. Why can't we just call this instance? Because we're within the module of models, so we know everything has to do with models, and it's apparent what these are. It's like from the models renderer's perspective, that is an instance, right? And then that makes this instances, right? Why not? Then when we re-export this, it's renderer instance. And then the app, it's model renderer instance. Better. We made it better. But it doesn't make sense. A batch has a draw order, a model type, and oh, that needs to be renamed. This is like instances. The vector of model renderer instances. So we can see from the type that it's a different kind of instance. Batch is always going to be a rendering batch, so we don't have to have the word renderer in front. Model is sort of implied. I would call this type if I could, but type is a reserved word. Also, type is a little bit ambiguous because it could be type of something else, so model type. Then this would be model instances, wouldn't it? This could be model, but then, okay, so maybe there could be some better names there, but maybe I shouldn't fret it too much. Oh, something that I read the other day on another project. Clippy warned me that We don't need to do this. We can just call our own partial comp and then unwrap it, right? I read about this. We should do this, right? And it should be self and other. There is already a reference. The reasoning is that you don't want ORed and partial ORed to order differently. So you make partial ORed the single source of truth. And the difference between ORed and partial ORed is partial ORed is allowed to return none. ORed is not. So when you make a claim that it's ORed, that basically is saying partial ORed never returns none. So that's what unwrap means, right? You do instance type. Instance type. Is it a model type? Could. But then it gets the words model and instance confused in my mind. Model to me is like the prototype, right? And an instance is, like the name implies, it's an instance of the prototype. It's like a clone of the prototype. It's something based off of the prototype. So I don't like confusing those model and instance. I like to keep them separate. Yeah. That's why names are hard, because you have like several things you want to do at once with the names, and like it's hard to satisfy all those desires. Okay, that can be shorter, right? Instances. And no, instance. Oh no, I can't call it instance because I'm using instance elsewhere. Render instance. Rendered instance. Yeah, I'm not too happy. I'm not completely happy with the names, but you know, this is getting better. This is better. Okay. So yeah, I like that we no longer have to pass on the rigid body set to the renderer. So this model renderer now is independent of the physics engine, which is really nice. The only thing it's really dependent on is wgpu, which makes sense because that's what we're using to draw. And we're dependent on algebra for the types of our vectors, matrices, and quaternions. And that's about basically it, right? It's okay, a couple weeks to go through and rename everything after working with it because it'll become more clear. Yeah, it happens. Yep. Do that constantly. And sometimes like your design will morph over time and in small steps, and the names sort of become irrelevant after a while, and you don't realize it right away. And you come back and you say, wait a minute, that name really only made sense before I changed this and that other thing. And now I should probably change it again. Okay, so what does models depend on? WGPU, some standard stuff. Okay, why do we have the model depending on that? And prelude definitely doesn't go there. That's dynamics, right? What's using rigid body? Actually, we can just comment this out and find out. It's the fact that we had to store the rigid body handle. Really, it's the handle, not the rigid body. In the instance itself. I was just thinking, like, is there a way for me to avoid this? It's only stored there so that we can retrieve it back out. Oh, we also have to look it up to get it back. So knowledge of the fact that the single source of truth of how rotated the body is and where it is in space, like the knowledge of where that's stored in it's in the physics engine is coupled with this module models. That's something I'm okay with. I could separate it out with one more level of indirection, I guess. Well, it's submodule render. No, that's app. App is the only thing that calls it. The renderer doesn't. So I could put it in the app, right? Or maybe another module. Um, something that whose only job is to meld an instance with its physical properties. Yeah, let's do that. What to call it though? Put this back in for now. So it would, I guess, sit outside of models, right? It would be into the app. I think I need to reorganize app too, right? Yeah, it's way too big. Okay, well I'll just add to the app for now. Well, no, let's not contribute to the mess. Let's make a new module. What to call it though? It's like model with body. Model instance with body. That'll force me to find a better name, right? Because that name is too long. Put it in main. Actually, it goes with the app directly, right? So it should be in a folder called app. Model instance with body. Put it there. Yes. There it is. And then in app, we have a submodule. I think a lot of these other things like info overlay ought to go into the app as well. Yeah, probably. Mod. That crazy name. Egui. Okay, the idea here was we'll have a struct model instance with body. We'd have the instance is a model instance, and the body, which was the body handle, which means I should probably have this body handle. Erg. So that's forget. Back in models, right? Rigid body handle. Okay, so that, import that. That, import from rapier, and that's dynamics, right? Okay, and then that's what we kind of want to encapsulate the two. So when the app is dealing with this stuff, well, it'll help if I, again, get rid of, where is it? In models, right? Get rid of this and see where it leads me. The idea would be to remove that. So yeah, some instances don't have body handles, so that is optional. I think I'm gonna end up calling this like app model instance. Yeah, so that means that I would want to call this just model instance, right? And then if we re-exported it out of app, it would be app model instance. So yeah, that's a problem though. What if we say well, I can just be explicit, not do the use. Okay, and then the idea would be that the app would import that. Yeah, I'm gonna have trouble with this name. Let me think about how this is used. It's used to get rotation and translation. The model shouldn't really care though. So maybe this instance doesn't belong here at all. Maybe that's the real thing. The real thing is that really models should only have model, and instance should be like supplied elsewhere. Okay, then what is the right? Because the render doesn't care. The render has its own type called instance. So really, it's the app that cares, and the app is building these instances when it comes time to draw them. So then, this whole type of instance from models can be removed, I think. Along with the instance handle. Yeah, all this stuff can move, right? This is going to be drastic. I hope this is right. That I can move all of this stuff to the app. So I just did a cut, and over here, I do a paste. Uncomment that. Oops. Import hash map from standard collections. Okay. So then this is just really model instance. Yes. Save all. Just notice that my window is a few pixels off. Okay. And then I gotta fix up some stuff. Lazy is from once cell. New text is from standard sync. Model type comes from models. Rigid body set. That's dynamics again, right? Not prelude. Okay, unit quaternion, algebra. Vector 3, algebra. Upcast is my own quaternion extensions. As no name. We just need the traits from it. Okay. Do I need that? Yes, I do need that. So this is sort of encapsulating the fact that we have a rigid body handle from the physics engine, along with other things that we're adding to it, like what model does it go with, what's its scale, what's its draw order. And the app is going to, this is where the app stores that information. So this is a single source of truth for this, for a lot of these things, like the scale. Well, that's not true. The scale is baked into the model. What do we need the scale for? If the scale is baked into the model, why do we have it here? It's not baked into the model. It's baked into the rigid body, the collider shape given to the rigid body. But we also need it for the graphics. So we can't get it back out of the collider shape, can we? We can't get it out of the collider shape. It has to be baked in, so we have no choice. These really should go together, though. And I should have a note. We are forced to bake in the instance scale, bake the instance scale into the collider shape. Let's close this. Lighter shape of the rigid body. But we also need it to draw the instance to render. We also need it for rendering, to render the instance. And we can't get it back. Alt Q, right? Nope, I just did the wrong alt. Good thing that I can just open it again and we don't lose anything. So it's this key, alt, yeah, that key. I hit the wrong key for alt. I think I hit control, so control Q quits. I was going to like turn off that shortcut, wasn't I? Let's do that before I do that again. So that's the key map. Not inspect, it's preferences, right? It's not key maps. Keyboard shortcuts. This one. So I do a search. Is this gonna like completely quit things? No. So I wanna just delete this. Remove that key binding. I don't want a key bind to quit the editor. So now if I accidentally hit it, nothing happens. Okay, good. Because that's sort of it's sort of embarrassing when I accidentally close VS Code. That's some naming problems on its own with key map shortcuts. Yeah, there's that inconsistency that makes it so that I can never remember the actual name. Okay, so we're forced to bake the instance scale into the glider shape of the rigid body, but we also need to render the instance, and we can't get it back from the rigid body. So we don't have a single source of truth for it. But we do have a single source of truth for what's the draw order of the instance and what the instance's model type is. Okay. And I guess this has more than just the scale in it. So really that comment goes with the scale. That's just to remind myself that scale is also in there. So let's say, let me put that first. This scale factor is also baked into the instance, baked into the collider shape of the rigid body. This scale factor is baked into the collider shape of the rigid body, but we also need to render the instance, and we can't get it back in the rigid body, so we don't have a single source of truth for it. There we go. Use Control W to close tabs. I use Control W to close tabs also, but Control Q closes the entire VS Code, which I think is sort of a silly shortcut. When am I going to close VS Code, right? Maybe when I'm shutting down, and then why don't I just let shutdown close it for me? Or I can press this nice little X button up here. I guess if I didn't want to touch the mouse, I would sort of have a difficult time closing the window without a keyboard shortcut, but yeah, that's not a problem for me. Very glad Firefox asks if I really want to close the window. Chrome just closes itself. I thought Chrome also had a "Are you sure?" button. Oh, I was thinking on the Mac. On the Mac, Chrome has a "Are you sure?" button. The way they do it is they actually bind, was it Command Q to a menu option that says, "Are you sure you want to close?" So you have to actually press and hold it or something. Coming from Vim, always have to turn things off like Control Q, use it for multi-cursor edits. Yeah. Fortunately, like I said, VS Code doesn't actually lose information if you close it and open it. So if I hit X and I close it, oops, I probably lost that X, right? Nope, it saved it for me. Don't know how it does it. Maybe a temporary file somewhere, but sure glad it does. All right. So yeah, the whole point of this module is to sort of couple rendering aspects like draw order, model type, with the physics stuff. So I'm happy with this. So then render should, yeah, app. Right, I removed the instance from here, right? Yeah, okay, that's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for the errors to pop up, right? So we have no instance as model instance. Well, that's now that's moved, right? Yeah, I think I can just delete these, and then when it asks where are they from, we can just re-import them. Shoot, I guess not. Did I put a mod here? I think that's the problem. No, I did have a mod there. So hold on, can I say model instance model? Oh, it's instance set. Okay, so I do want to import them. So I want to use after my mod. After the mod, I want to use that. And the same thing for instance handle. I'm going to get confused with the word model though, right? Because it's going to look like models. So, I guess because it's one word, it's okay. And it's not models plural either. I think that'll be enough for me. That will be enough. Okay, actually severing it was no big deal. I thought that would be more work. I totally thought that would be more work than that. But I severed it with very little work. So that means I did good there in choosing where to slice. I sliced something right out of the model's module and just plopped it over in the app, and it just works. Started to use Opera GX a while back as it both reopens your last closed window by default. I thought the Firefox could do that too. I know in Firefox you can go to history and do like restore last session. Maybe not automatic though. It also has a control menu to throttle CPU usage. Really? That's cool. So it is polite. You can ask it to politely share the CPU. Yeah, Betseg said the same thing I did. I don't know if it's automatic though. I know it's in the history menu for Firefox. I just don't know if you can set it up as automatic. Cool. Nothing broken. Everything works still, right? Kick. All right. I'm sort of surprised I didn't run into more problems with this. So now models and its renderer should be pretty clean. It only uses wgpu, and that's because we set up common stuff for it, right? Why are we using? Oh, that's the re-export, right? Right, re-export. So we describe our shader layout at this level. Does this even go here? Shouldn't this go with the render? Because the render owns, oh no, the models owns the shader, not the renderer. Never mind, it does go here. The renderer uses tools that the models gave it, basically. Literally the first setting when you click settings, startup, open previous windows and tabs. Oh, that's nice. So there's something to make it automatic. Is this true still? Vertex attributes is 2. Is it 2? I guess. All right, I had to separate these because we want to declare them separately. Okay, what confused me is this 2 doesn't go there. It really goes down here, right? There are 2 of them. If I could, I would get rid of that 2 and say num fields of vertex attributes. But such a macro, I don't think exists, right? So we have to hard code it too. So whenever I add or if I change the number of attributes here, I have to change that number. Where's that number used? Ah, yes. Because we start at that offset to declare our instance uniforms. And that word uniforms isn't true anymore, right? They're not uniforms. They're like they're like instance attributes versus vertex attributes. Yeah, shouldn't this be instance attributes? I love how I can just like change the name and it just changes it everywhere. It's so nice. Ah, man. I always take that for granted until I go to another editor in another language and it just doesn't work. And I'm like, it's so easy with Rust and VS Code to do that. Okay, so this makes sense now? To wgpu's point of view, it is a vertex attribute, even though we're describing instance attributes. And we have to have that coupling because of the way it goes into the shader. I should probably just describe that with a little note here. Constants deserve a note anyway. This must always be the same as the number of fields. Actually, it doesn't have to. I could put it at 10 and start at slot 10 if I wanted, right? So it's really, this must always be at least the number of fields of vertex attributes. And then we'll preface that with I can turn this around, right? Really, it's the base slot number or the base binding. What is it called? It's called offs. No, it's not offset. Location. It's called shader location. This is really then base. Caps lock, please. Base instance attribute location. That's what it really is. This is the shader location of the first instance attribute. It must always be at least the number of fields of vertex attributes, since we assign shader locations to vertex attributes first, and then instance attributes afterward. After. If this is read okay, this is the shader location of the first instance attribute. It must always be at least the number of fields of vertex attributes, since we assign shader locations to attributes first, vertex attributes first, and then instance attributes after. So it kind of like although it's associated with this, it's also associated with the instance. Where did I put the instance attributes? Up here, right? Because we use it there. So kind of goes here, but it also is associated with this. But now that I have it in a comment, I'm happier with it. Actually, you can assign a constant to be the value of another constant, right? So I could do that, and then I can just make another constant down here. Why don't I do that? That's even better. That needs to be... If I could tie it to the struct, I would. This is the number of fields of vertex attributes. If we had a macro or other way to tell the compiler explicitly, tell the compiler this explicitly, we would. Instead, I'd like put a caution or something, or fragility, point of fragility. That's okay. This is the number of fields of vertex attributes. If we had a macro or other way to tell the compiler this explicitly, we would. Instead, we have to maintain the constant, changing it if we ever add or remove fields of vertex attributes. Okay. I like that better because it's sort of explicit. They have sort of different responsibilities. This one has to be maintained that. It has nothing to do with the instance attributes, right? Instance attributes, these are tied together because of the way we assign locations. If I were to change the way we assign locations, like if I made that a 10 and decoupled it, then it changes there and there only. Okay, I like that. That's better. Cool, cool, cool. So I forget why, because I was scrolling from the top maybe? Yeah, that's right. I was making sure that models is responsible for the correct things. So models knows about the shader and how we bind it. Okay, it also has these. Okay, I want to move these out. These don't really belong in models. These are specific models, right? We could define the macro here, but the cube should just be like in cube.rs, I think, along with the indices. Ground should be its own. Yeah, let's make something under models called cube.rs and another one called ground.rs. Okay, and then ground vertices and indices moves to ground. How did that become a folder? Delete. Yes, move to trash. New file called ground.r. I must have hit the wrong button. Paste. Done. Models has a cube and a ground. That pop-up annoys me. Okay, vertex attributes comes from super. We're good. All right. So then back in models. Cube moves out, right? That goes to cube. It's hard to import macros, right? Is that how we do it? It's use. Okay. How do we use a macro defined in a parent module? We can't do that for some reason. I bet if I did a star there, it would work. No, it still doesn't work. Have you added the macro use in the module import? Added the macro use on the module import. What? Say what now? Don't know this. Only effect on the extern crate and modules. Oh, we use that in front of the import of the module? So what would I do? Put it here? I don't know. I don't know where to put this. The other thing I can think of is to put it here. No, that's not right. Okay, time to consult the internet. Ooh, blah, blah. So, not libs. What am I doing? DuckDuckGo. Rust. Import macro from parent. From super. How to import macros in Rust. How do you use it in a different module in the same crate? There we go. Macro export exports the macro under the crate root. Thus, that will work, but that won't. You don't need macro use. So macro in other crates. Okay. To export pub crate use. Pub crate use. Okay, I can try that. So it's saying that I can go here where I define the macro and do pub crate use vertex geometry. All right. Oh, do I need the use then? Do I just do that now? Interesting. Huh, that's weird. I guess it's because of the order in which the compiler, like, because it needs it at compile time, right? What's the little underscore mean? Can't find it in scope. What? Consider importing and start use crate models. What? Oh, everything that the macro needs to be available at that time, right? So hold on. Does that mean I've got to do something like shouldn't I just put this under macros then? Yeah. Let's make I don't know if this is right, but let's try this. Make one called macros. Use super that. Go back to models. Grab this and pull it out. Back to macros, paste, and then we also need. Oh, I guess I don't need anything else. We need a mod. Go away. So can this now figure it out? Super macros. There we go. That looks a lot nicer. All right. There's still an error though. Cannot find it in this scope. Consider it use crate models. So instead of super, I need to do crate models. Oh, I think I know what I need to do. I need to be explicit in the macro. Yeah. I remember reading about that when you make macros, because they could be, you don't know where they're instantiated from. It's better to be explicit and not rely on a use. Okay, cool. So these aren't available from the models anymore, but they are if we put cube in front, right? As long as they are public, which they are not. Models. Do I want to just make the whole thing public? I think I do. And then let's get rid of the redundant names. So that's just vertices. And that's just indices, because we don't need to repeat that name again, right? Same thing with ground. The only place I really want to repeat that is in the app when we import it. That, right? What am I doing on time? Got another maybe 25 minutes. Okay, let's make sure I didn't break anything. So I'm kind of cleaning up the models now that the specific models are now in their own modules. Didn't break anything, which is good. Nothing broken. Cool. All right. So cube has just the geometry of the cube. Ground has just the ground geometry. Macros has my macro in it. Did I have another macro? I did. This thing. That moves out because I want my macros together. Then I'll need a pub use crate for that, right? Square UVs from square texture atlas. Okay, and then back in models. So does it go here? I'm thinking not, right? This should be like in like I don't know. Where do we use grass block UVs? The app uses it. Okay. So it's sort of like something the app that belongs to the app. So why don't we have under app we'll have blocks or something. And we'll just move them there. Models. Put them here. Under app, we have a mod blocks. Go away. All right. So these are like down here, right? This is like blocks. Grass block UVs, cobblestone block UVs. They're not found because we have other errors, right? That we have to use the macro. Okay. This is a little bit tougher, right? Because it doesn't. Not actually knowing where to get it from. How do I do this? Do I do a use crate models? Actually, does it even really belong with models? It does because it has vertex attributes, right? Quad UVs from square texture atlas. Yeah. Don't know if I like these constants, but that's the way it is, right? I also need to put this prefix in front of a bunch of things. Okay. Anyway, back here, models. Is that how we do it? Unresolved import. How did we use the macro, the other macro? Vertex gem. Okay, that was in like cube. Super. Okay, so how come I couldn't get to it from here? Rate models. Oh, I have to say macros. And the problem is that's private, so make it public. Models. Public. Okay. And then, all right, so what's wrong with that? Oh, shoot. Can I? Can I just define them inside here? No. Can't. So where to put them? Well, they kind of belong with the models, right? Or maybe that it's where we invoke that. So maybe it goes in the macro itself. Yeah, because it belongs to the app. So let's pull that out. It goes in blocks, and we have to pass it in. Just got to, because the macro shouldn't need to care how big the atlas is. Okay, so we're going to go to the macros, and we have another, so what to call it? So atlas width and which is an expression, atlas height, which is another expression. All right, and then close that. So atlas width everywhere there. Atlas height for all of those. Okay. And we're good now? We're good. Run it. Hey there, Buffer. How are you doing? Buffer 8855 8855 8855. Today I'm mostly reorganizing the app that I made to play around with Rust libraries. So I put macros in their own spot. Macros that are related to 3D models. The vertex texture attributes, geometry attributes, and all that. Individual models are in their own modules. So there's the cube, and then there's the ground. Okay, so models should be pretty clean at this point, right? Models. So we re-export stuff from our renderer. We export our own macros, the cube and the ground. So we're describing vertex and instance attributes and what is in a model, and we can create a new model. I think the answer to this was no, right? Oh wait, no, I haven't visited this yet. So this is maybe something else to work on. I think the idea was anything that needs the device should go to the renderer, and that we should be passing in the buffers to the model, and then we just store them. Yeah, that was the idea. The idea is this should be done outside by the renderer, and then we don't need the device. Instead, we pass in the buffers. Store the texture, because we're already doing that with the texture resources. We should be doing the same thing with the buffers, the other buffers, or the buffers, right? Okay. Anyway, so add instance does that. And that's only because we maintain per instance buffer. Right, so this fixed the name, right? This is instance attributes buffer. Per instance buffer is like, well, per vertex buffer, per instance buffer, that's fine. Okay. Then we have the model type really go here. This really belongs with the app, doesn't it? Where is model type used? It's used in model instances for what reason? To be stored there, sure. But can't I make that generic? It's really just stored, right? Yeah, the instance doesn't need to know that type. Yeah, then we can get rid of this import. I'm going to do it. Watch this. We don't need it to be dependent on its parent, really. The instance could just be we could just bake it in. We can make it generic, so model type. Oh, the other way, right? Or is it on both? It is on both. Okay, and that means that this has to be generic. Okay, consequence of that is in the app. Model instance set of model type. Model instance. Not move. Okay, so we need to say that it's copy. I can say that here, right? And actually, I should be more narrow, shouldn't I? I should be more narrow. All of these functions don't need it to be copy. Only that one did, right? Only this one did. So why don't I just take it out and just say impl model, what is it? Instance model. Well, hold on. I'll just type that in a second. I had that in my clipboard. I don't want to lose it. So here are the implementations that require model type to be copy. And that's to get a copy of the model type. All right, only one warning left. Look at that. Get to sever that. And that's all I needed to do. And it just works. That's how cool generics are. So I'm separating the concerns of different modules in my app, right? The model instance doesn't care what the type is for the model type, so we just made it generic. Because all it really does is it stores one. Where does that happen? Stores it, and it, when asked for it, retrieves it, right? It's really the app where we actually bind it right here. The actual model type is here, which now I can move because it doesn't need, models doesn't care about it. The only reason models cares about it is because it's put into model set, and I think the only place model set is used is in the app. So this really goes in the app. So we're going to put it in the app. So we're not pulling it from the model. We're defining it ourselves. I don't know where. Here, I guess. Oh, hold on. I lost it. Cut. Then go back and paste. There we go. And I have one warning. Right, don't need hash map anymore. Cool. And it continues to work. See, Refactoring is cool when it works because if you did it correctly, you have little to no errors and warnings, and it just works. Nothing changes, other than your code looks cleaner. Okay, so models is very clean now, right? It's just adding instance, making a new model where we're building the things that the render is going to use, and this is storing them. And we say it's for the render, right? Render is a submodule because we wanted to separate the construction and storage of these things, also the vertex, the shader stuff. So the models is responsible for two things really. It's responsible for the description of the shaders and how they bind the CPU to the GPU, and we're also storing things for the model to use. And that'll be apparent if I look at render, right? Because it's going to use stuff from super. It's going to use the model and those types, and it's the subject of what we're drawing. And here's where we pull things out, which is why we can do that because we're in a submodule. They don't need to be public. But not public there. Good. Okay. Cool. So then the render only cares about drawing now, right? It should only care about drawing, so the wgpu stuff, and algebra, fine. Stuff from the model. So instances are like, that's the data we need on how to draw every instance. Subject of what we're drawing is the model and its instances. Tools that we use to draw. Configuration is where the camera is right now. So render is just a pipeline and a bind group for the texture. Why do we need that actually? We need it to create a bind group where? And build texture resources. Build texture resources is called from what? The app. When we create our models. Okay, why did it need to be in the render? It needed to be in the render, why? What does it need from self? It needs the texture bind group layout. Yeah, okay, that's how the app and the render are tied together, is this silly bind texture layout. Because we wanted to create it here, why? Does it need to be created here? Maybe it doesn't really go here. It only really depends on the device. Well, okay, it's loosely associated with the shader, which is where we actually created here in the renderer, right? I feel like render and models are kind of a little bit too closely coupled. There's some spillover, like this. This actually loads the shader, but back in models, we have like information that tightly coupled to the shader. I'm wondering if maybe these two, like models and render, should be combined back into one module again. They're both pretty small. That might make sense. But let me make that a to-do consider later because I'm almost out of time. So I'm going to have a to-do here. Consider merging this submodule back into this module, since both of them are rather closely coupled. Or closely coupled. All right, so that's it for that, right? But there's no other concerns that these have. It's basically all the wgpu stuff is in models and its render. Shaders closely associated with that. Okay, so then that leads me back to where? To... All right, so under the app, we have model instance where we hold the concern of, right, this binds two things together. It binds the physics engine with the drawing code, the rendering, and it's bound through, we associate a model type and a draw order to a rigid body handle. And that is an instance. And we have to have the scale in two places, here and inside of the collider shape, because of this limitation. Okay, so making a new one is basically vending a new handle and then storing some defaults. Really the only thing that's new is the model. And then this is sort of a semi like builder pattern because it's allowed to mutate itself to apply a scale, a draw order, rigid body handle. And then do we ever need to get these back out? This actually might never be used. It's used in the app. Why? Oh, right. Well, when do we use? Oh, I see. We use it when we manipulate objects directly. We have to get it back out to work with it. Maybe that actually should be pushed back into the model instance. This might belong back in model instance, right? There should be a method called kick. So should I have like a note here saying possibly this belongs with the model instance? This should be maybe a method on the model instance so that we don't need to call rigid body. Maybe. To do. Consider making this a method of model instance. Close that. Since we might want to encapsulate the rigid body stuff within that type. Maybe not. Maybe not. This still has to like peek into it has to fetch it from the physics world. That might be the reason we don't do it, because the physics world is owned by the app right now. And we're like looking up based off of the hand. This is actually returning the handle, not the body itself, right? Yeah. This really should be called handle. And this should be with rigid body handle. This should be rigid body handle. Yeah. Okay. Anything any last words for today? I think there should be a huge to-do to break app down because there's just too much stuff the app does. So let me, I don't know, put a to-do at the very top. Needs refactoring. App is too big. Should hosts be grouped in a directory too? Probably. The reason they're not is main uses them, and main is special in that like the main module owns the host modules, right? So it's not like you have a main folder and you put the hosts in them. So maybe I could group them together under like front ends. It's called a front end, right? Because the back end is the lower level, like wgpu stuff, right? This is how we actually get access to the front of the app is like the window, right? Front end, back end, not sure what terms to use, but yeah, these are kind of alternatives to that, right? I think you're right, Betseg. So let me make another to do here, I guess. Consider grouping host implementation, window host implementations, right? Together. Okay. How did the Rust devs suppose one would know about that without reading the manual? It's sort of a wart on the language that from the main, the module is not in a subdirectory, but from a non-main, the module is in a subdirectory, right? I think it's just how the language evolved, right? Didn't in originally you had to have like a something else, some other kind of syntax to organize modules? I forget. I kind of learned Rust after they had already reorganized that. Okay, so main has a big to do. Anything else? Utilities is okay. It's just got a bunch of, it's like a, utilities is like a junk drawer of extra free functions that work with other types and things, right? Free functions and traits with implementations for foreign types to extend them. Info overlay. I think actually this is only used by the app, right? So this really is a good candidate for being an app module. So let me put a big old to-do on this one. Consider making this a submodule of app. Because only app uses it, right? So we'll see evidence of that when I go up to the use. Like the fact that we have to have these use crates is always a bad sign, right? So same thing with FPS. If nothing else uses this, then it should be part of the app. Yeah, only app uses it. So same thing I said about info overlay, I could say about FPS. All right. Submodule of app. I have a feeling that app has got too many concerns because it's got too many crate imports. Like I could argue the same thing for models. Maybe models is under the app as well. What's not under the app? The host stuff. Yeah. What's going to end up happening is main really defers everything to the app. It's like really combining the app with the window. So everything else is going to move under app eventually, right? So the models is going to move under. So I guess it's the same consideration. The models is maybe a submodule of app because we never use models outside of the app. Yeah, but I don't have time for that right now. That does seem like the right thing to do, though, because then from the top level, we only really care about we have window hosts and we have the app. That's it. We have those two. We're tying those two concerns together. We have its dependencies like egui context that's created at the top level and then passed in, but that's only because we only want one of them. We don't want the window host to be concerned about creating it, right? Same thing with the channel. We have to create that up there. So, but other things like the model stuff is all inside the app. Yeah, I think that's the way I'm going to go, but I got to get set up to do work now. I mean, like mod hosts and host slash star underscore host.rs. Yeah, that's what I thought you meant. So, that's why I put that or up here, right? Grouping them together would be to have an empty module called hosts that has just two imports or two and make them public modules that are re-exported, I guess. Or I guess re-exported with host at the end, like that. Yeah. All right, out of time. Looks like the only one that I know who's streaming software and game development is Jackie Codes. So let's raid Jackie Codes. GG. See you guys tomorrow, okay? In the meantime, please enjoy Jackie Code's stream and take care. Bye.